Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm so literally, guys, can't tell you how stoked I am for today's episode because I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Maggie, and I found her through this amazing account called The Hidden Opponent. So check The Hidden Opponent out here. But today, Maggie and I just kind of talk about her journey with her eating disorder and how she recovered from it and how it impacted her swimming. She was a D1 swimmer at the University of Minnesota, and we honestly just sat down and had such an amazing open conversation. You'll learn about her journey, her food account, which is linked down below, so go check it out. We talk about self-love, and she gives some advice for any athletes who may be struggling with the same thing. So I hope you guys are ready. It's amazing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this amazing interview. I hope you love it as much as I do. So here we go. Hello, Maggie. Welcome.
Hi.
So I'm so happy to have you on today and so honored that you're willing to share your story with us. But first, before we get into that, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm Maggie. I have my Instagram, maggiebakesgrace, and but I am a real life adult now, out of college. But I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up swimming my whole life. I swam for the University of Minnesota. I developed an eating disorder when I was swimming, so that's kind of how my journey with Maggie Bakes Grace began. Pretty much I recovered from my eating disorder, and then I just have really found passion and purpose in first of all, making really delicious food. I am lactose intolerant and allergic to coconut, so all my foods are dairy free and coconut free.
I hate coconut, so it's perfect.
The whole purpose with that is just showing people that you can find purpose in life after college, life after sports, and you can recover from your eating disorder. All food is fuel. Desserts are fuel. It's all fabulous. And yeah, just spreading love and joy through baking. So that's me.
Yay!
And I live in Minnesota. I guess that's the other thing. Yeah.
Yes. Go Minnesota. Like you said, you did develop an eating disorder while you were swimming. So if you could kind of share a little bit about that and how that came about.
When I was 12, I decided I wanted to commit to swimming 100%. So I stopped doing soccer and other sports and just swam. And when I was 15, I was nutrition can have an impact on your athletic performance. But I wasn't strict about it or obsessed with it or anything like that. I just ate a ton, made sure I got enough protein. And that was it. I still ate cake with friends and lived my life and wasn't stressed about food or anything like that. Then literally the instant I got to college, week one, something in my brain kind of freaked out. I don't really know, but I know moving to college was stressful, and I kind of felt the pressures of balancing looking like an athlete versus looking like an idealized female body type. And that was really hard for me because I had this major crush on this guy. Don't want to get into that because if he ever watches this, he would know it's about him. But thought that he preferred this body type, or guys in general preferred looking feminine, whatever the heck that even means. Because I was starting to simply not be able to eat enough because training was also a lot heavier in college. You're also walking around campus all day. Walking burns calories, people. It does. You need more food when you're walking around a college campus. And so I was swimming slower because I already wasn't eating enough. And then my brain kind of freaked out on me. And I decided, since I wasn't swimming well, and all my teammates were partying, and I was going to bed every night, getting straight A's, doing all this, everything, what I thought everything right. So I was okay, if I'm not going to be the best in the pool, I'm going to be the best at my nutrition. And that's really twisted, but to be a good athlete, you tend to want to be the best. And eating disorders are also competitive in a way. It's kind of the same part of your brain. So it turned out to be really, really unhealthy for me, of course, because I wasn't like, first of all, there's no being best in nutrition. Like, every person is different. But also in my head, being the best meant like never eating sugar, only eating avocados and peanut butter. Like, I was afraid of like butter and oil and stuff like that. And just like these food rules, which now food rules are like so common in diet culture. And that's also why now that I'm fully recovered, I really am like anti-diet culture, because we're ingraining these things in like children's minds that are simply not true. Like, sugar is not going to kill you. Like, yes, you might like be inflamed more, like your cells might inflame more for like 15 minutes, but you're gonna be okay. And it's more important to like live your life and enjoy your life and live in the moment, because you never know like what's gonna happen. And when you're dying, you're probably not gonna be like, I shouldn't have had that slice of pizza, like that really did it for me. And no, you're probably going to be like, I really wish I didn't miss out on that entire like weekend getaway with my friends because I was afraid of what food was going to be available. Basically, I had to go. I went to a nutritionist and did not get along with her like at all. She actually kind of made my eating disorder worse. I think I was kind of like being a rebel. I don't know how to phrase it better, but like, she was telling me like to count how many things I was eating, which was like even more dangerous for me. Really, yeah, not great advice. So I finally, like the next year, went to actually like a psychologist and a dietitian, and the like therapy with the therapist and the psychologist, like that's actually what helped me recover completely. Because for me, it was never really about the food. It was about the sense of needing control and the sense of like where I find my value and my worth. And swimming was my identity, and swimming wasn't going well. So I made my disorder my identity, and like really getting at those things, because it rarely is actually about the food.
How did perfectionism play into your eating disorder?
Perfectionism is bad. It is dangerous. I have been a perfectionist my entire life. I did write about it. I don't know if you read that article.
I did.
And if that's how you found me. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wrote an article for The Hidden Opponent about perfectionism and when it becomes dangerous. Because in middle school, I was a perfectionist. I got a 97% on an exam and I cried because it wasn't 100. Like that's, like that's not really a great sign, but it still wasn't like super harmful. Like I was generally okay. Same in high school, very much so a perfectionist, like needed to have a 4.0, thought the world was going to end if I didn't have a 4.0, thought the world was going to end if I didn't get the cut I wanted in swimming. So, I like worked to make sure that I accomplished these things. And then in college, it's that same just like part of your brain that is always making you think you need to be perfect. And the most dangerous thing I've learned about perfectionism is if you have the perfectionist mindset, nothing will ever actually be perfect because it is a mindset. Perfect is not actually defined. And so you're never going to attain it. And that's why it's so dangerous, especially in eating disorders, because if you are trying to attain a perfect body or you are trying to attain perfect nutrition, that's never going to be attained because of like the parts of your brain that are working to make you think that way. And so for me, it was that perfect eating, being the best at eating. And perfect eating was going to help me live longer than my grandma did. And having the perfect athlete but feminine body was going to make boys like me more. And it is just so dangerous because then you're not living your life for you. You're like living your life for what you think you want, but it's never attainable. So it's never going to happen. So you're just going to constantly be beating yourself down because you're not achieving what you're like working so hard to achieve. So yeah, it's a really dangerous cycle, but it is like psychologically, it makes sense, but it's really sad that it's a thing. So it was, really breaking that perfectionist mindset for me was the key in my recovery, and realize like the whole thought of that, the perfectionist mindset means you'll never attain perfection. That's something my therapist taught me. And it totally makes sense. Like when you put it together, it totally makes sense, but I had never thought of it that way until she pointed it out to me. And I swear in that moment, I was like, I will be better. Like I will recover because of that little snippet of guidance.
Yeah, perfectionism it's real in an eating disorder. And your eating disorder voice is always like, you're not perfect, keep going. And bad. I guess in terms of swimming, how did developing an eating disorder impact, one, your performance, and two, your experience with your teammates?
Yeah, honestly, like if I have one regret, I don't live life with regrets, but if I had one regret, it would be like letting my eating disorder consume me because I simply didn't enjoy it. And like now I miss it so much. But like, for example, we got to go to training trip in Hawaii every winter, and we were in Hawaii and I literally like packed beans and rice and stuff from Minnesota to bring with, one, to not spend money, but two, to make sure I like had the right fuel and like didn't go out to eat with my teammates in Hawaii. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what were you thinking? Oh, I'm just like so mad at myself for that. But I know like it's okay. And like all my teammates are still my friends. But I do sometimes wonder, like, would I have had closer relationships? Like, yeah, I probably would have, because I wouldn't have been in my own head freaking out about food. I would have been focused on having fun and building those friendships with those people if I didn't have my eating disorder. I also certainly would have swam better if I didn't have my eating disorder. So I was in like pseudo recovery my sophomore year and then fully recovered by my junior year. And I like started going best times again my junior year once I was eating enough. Like literally all you have to do is eat enough. And it was so hard for 2 years and I'm so mad about it. But it impacted every single thing in my life. And like, I didn't know that it was a problem until it was way too far along. Yeah. So that really is like the biggest regret I have. But I'm glad I got help when I did, because it definitely could have been worse.
You got help your sophomore year?
Okay, so I qualified for Olympic trials in 2015 and trials were 2016, like summer 2016. So I developed my eating disorder freshman year, which was like 2015 to 2016. My coaches said, if you don't see this nutritionist, we're not letting you compete at trials. / like, if you lose any more weight, we're not letting you compete at trials. I was like, okay, like hold it over my head. You know, I respect that now. Like, I'm glad you did that. But the nutritionist they had me see was like terrible for me and kind of made things worse. Because like once you start counting calories, it's hard to not. Like, it's ingrained in you. Even now today, I do actively fight counting calories simply because like once you know, it's like a calculator that's constantly on. After trials, then I went home to like stay with my parents. And that's kind of when I'd say my more real recovery started, because like I don't know, like part of it was like being home, being with my old coach, and like swimming to swim because I enjoy it, and like eating to eat because I enjoy it, and like getting Dairy Queen with my family because I enjoy it, and just like getting back to those roots, because like really my freshman year just pretty much messed me up in the head. And that's when I'd say like pseudo recovery started, because I was like counting calories to make sure I was eating enough, which isn't listening to your body and isn't listening to your needs. It's like a fine line as an athlete too, because sometimes like your appetite isn't as high as what you have to eat to keep up with how much you're training. But I'd say I wasn't like counting it in a beneficial way. It was more like, don't go over this amount. So then all of sophomore year, finally saw the therapist, saw the psychologist, and then finally was really recovered by junior year. So I'd say I was like in the depths of it for 1 year, and then in pseudo recovery for 1 year, and then was fully recovered. And then senior year, I didn't swim. I actually got like influenza, and it turned into viral arthritis, because apparently that's a thing. So I couldn't compete my senior year because I was going to have to take off 3 months in summer leading up to it. So I had to retire after I put in all that work to recover and go best times. And then I got sick, but it's okay, because then I met my fiance.
Geez, so you had to miss out your senior swim season?
Yeah. So
did you have to officially leave the team?
Yeah. So they were like, you can manage and like still be on deck and stuff. But like for me, that would have been so like mentally painful to be on deck my senior year, not competing, like especially after my personal journey had been like putting all my energy into recovering so I could perform well and just like be a good teammate and stuff like that. Like it was just, I was like, I can't, like, I'm sorry. Like, I just need to step away and like find other meaning in life besides swimming.
Okay. So you were recovered by your senior year. How was your senior year then? You have this new lease on life.
I mean, okay. So like I stopped swimming after I had swam for 14 years. My sister moved to New York for grad school. I met my fiance. So I went to New York 3 times that year because I could. Because I only, until then, I took 1 week off from swimming every year. That's it. I only got 1 week. And then we got every Sunday off when we didn't have meets. So for 14 years, like I did nothing pretty much. So it was so fun. And like we got to go on a cruise my senior year. We went on a cruise in December, which like I couldn't have done that if I was swimming. And like, yeah, just fun things like that I was like, okay, like there is purpose in life, like besides swimming. And I'm certainly glad I'm recovered by that point because I enjoyed the cruise buffet. I enjoyed the local cuisine in Jamaica, like got some jerk chicken on the road on our way to a waterfall. Like eating disorder Maggie wouldn't have been okay with that. So yeah, like I feel like senior year was kind of like a hurrah, like you are recovered, you are worthy, like you are here and ready to live and enjoy life.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. Did you still swim or did you find other means of movement? Did you completely stop working out? What was your journey with that?
So the working out journey was actually really hard for me, especially because swimming ended so abruptly. I like started running all the time, like too much. Like I was recovered from my eating disorder, but then I started over exercising simply because I was used to training 4 hours a day. So I thought 2-hour workouts were normal. So I would like run and then do the stair stepper and then lift like every day. Now I cannot fathom doing that. Like I work out for 45 minutes and I'm good. I'm like, that was intense. Like, that was legit. But then my fiance plays water polo for the Masters team here in Minnesota. And so I actually decided to like go to a few practices with him. And it was so fun. So now I am on the Masters water polo team because it's swimming, but it's like soccer in the pool. Like you get to chase a ball and like shoot. And it's a team sport. And then I also have run a half marathon because I do enjoy running a lot. I did cross country in like middle school and high school. So I guess I should have known, like I would have liked running when I was done with swimming. And like, I want to do a triathlon. I don't know, just like doing things. Like you just get to do things that you haven't been able to do.
That's so fun. And just like being active because you enjoy it, not because it's compensatory and you're like, ah.
Right.
Getting a new relationship with movement is beautiful.
I think that's kind of like, at least for me, it was a big key in maintaining my recovery. And even like, I think like transition to life after sport in and of itself, I've seen quite a few people like not develop disordered eating, I'd say. Maybe not official eating disorders, but like a lot of athletes are under the perception that you like earn your food and you have to tame your appetite because it is really high when you're done with your sport. Even if you're like not practicing that much anymore, it's still high. And I've seen a lot of people go through that personally. And so really, yeah, finding that just like moving for joy, like going for a bike ride, playing soccer with friends, that is movement, that is endorphins, that is strengthening your heart and your lungs. Sometimes I work out in my pajamas because like work from home, pajama workout, we do what we want now.
Those are the best. Mm-hmm. I really think colleges need to do a better job of helping athletes with the transition. Mm-hmm. I've seen it too, being on the cross and track teams of like wanting to maintain that runner's body and not thinking that you can eat because you haven't run 20 miles that day and then like still running at a high intensity. It's just a really hard transition that I think needs to be talked about more because when you're done, you're just done. And it's like, okay, great season. Good luck in life. And it's like, right. You just dedicated your whole life to this and all I get is a goodbye.
Yeah. And like, let alone, like, I think people only think about like, oh, you spent 4 years doing that. No, like how many of us have been working towards college athletics our whole lives? A lot of us. So it's been our whole lives. Things like I need to like calm my hunger cues. Like, you know what? If you're hungry, eat. Like your body clearly wants it. And so if you put on some pounds after you're done with your sport, that's okay. You're like not supposed to maintain an elite athlete's physique your whole life. That's not good for you. So it's okay to gain weight after college athletics, even if you don't have an eating disorder. Like acknowledging that it is okay to gain weight is so important.
And it's also okay to do a form of movement that is different from the sport you did in college. Like, it is okay. That's something I'm like trying to still wrap my mind around. That's okay to not run, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Go for a swim. Go for a bike.
I love swimming.
Jumping jacks.
I love, oh my gosh, I wish pools are open. I really do enjoy swimming. Oh, how do you practice self-love?
Oh, I'd say, well, first of all, that's something I struggle with a lot. It's something I struggled with, obviously, majorly during my eating disorder. I had no self-love, no self-worth. My identity was swimming, and my identity was eating perfectly. So that was terrible. And then I learned, like, well, first of all, to be loved, you have to love yourself. And like, I have always wanted a family. I have always imagined myself being a wife and a mother. And so to me, it was important to love myself, not so that someone else can love me, but like knowing that the first step to formulating healthy relationships and finding that fulfillment in my life was loving myself. And so that is kind of like how that journey started. But now, like, to me, loving myself is, first of all, I love like thanking your legs for carrying you. And like, you know what, legs, you aren't as toned as you used to be. And that is darn okay. Like, I love you. Like, you have walked me on like through an underwater cave in Cozumel. Like, you have walked my dog with me. Like, you have done so much for me. You walked me on top of the podium when I won nationals. Like, you've done so much for me. And it is okay that you look the way you look. And things like making myself coffee every morning. I do coffee pours every day. And like, it is just a moment. It is 10 seconds of like pure bliss, like watching the coffee be poured, listening to it, like taking that time is self-love. And that has nothing to do with nutrition. It has nothing to do with like your physical being. It is like letting your literal senses like be enjoyed and like taking time to enjoy time and to be. And so it's really important for me to like take time for myself, like even if it's just 5 minutes to just be and like either meditate or read a book. I'm a sucker for romance novels.
Same.
I'm reading this one series for the second time through. I have all the books memorized already, but it's so good. Reading those books is definitely self-love. Telling yourself like you are worth these 5 minutes. You are worth everything. Like you are worth eating even when you don't work out. Like just all of that is so important.
I guess my last question is any words of advice for any athletes who are struggling with what you struggled with, or they have anxiety or pervasive perfectionist thoughts? What is your advice for that?
I'd say my main advice for that is like, first of all, you're not alone. When you're in an eating disorder or when you're a perfectionist, it's really easy to feel like you're alone. And that is just like how the whole digs deeper is if you feel alone. So first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, a phrase my mom always said was, "This too shall pass." And for me, that was always very soothing because it's kind of like, yes, a lot of things are in your control, but a lot of things also aren't in your control. And so like remembering that sometimes things are going to happen to you that aren't in your control and being okay with that is super important. And thirdly is my dad's piece of advice always was, don't stress about the things that aren't in your control, because what's the point in stressing about it? Because that won't change anything. So if you are going to stress, if you are going to worry or work towards something, do that on like the things that are going to make your life more fulfilling and the things that are going to make you like be a more whole person. I think like it's easy to focus on like perfecting one thing or like doing this one thing great, but like we are people, like we need to get love and give love. We like movement, we like conversation, we like learning, we like creative outlets. Like there's so much to you as a person. And so like focusing on those things, all of those things, I think can help you get through like any of the toughest times. That's my advice.
Great advice. I love that. And I hope that helps somebody out there when they see this video. And oh my gosh, that was an amazing conversation. I'm so glad that you were able to come on and just open up the conversation about eating disorders, athletes and eating disorders, and just help spread the word of self-love. Like, amazing.
Self-love and coffee,
really
boys.
crazy.
What more do you need?
Honestly, if we've learned anything from this video, it's self-love and coffee, boys. Oh my gosh.
I appreciate you having me.
Oh my gosh, it was my honor. My first guest on this channel. So yay. I'm so glad that we were able to connect and talk. It was really, really fun. And I can't wait.
Yeah, it was so fun. So nice to meet. I feel like I know you now.
Same. I love it. Oh my gosh.